Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bri and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
So one of our top downloaded podcast episodes from early days was I Will Make You Quit Your Job. And that was because Bri started keeping track of how many people I've made quit their job. And that number was huge. And we're going to talk today about kind of why I encourage folks to quit their job. And I think Bri's now on track with me, convincing people to quit their job. And it's because it really is a choice for child-free folks. If you are miserable and you're like, hey, I'm making $100,000, but I'm in my job, I'm going to keep it. You've really just told me for $100,000 you're willing to be miserable. And I just don't know that that's the best way to enjoy your life. And we're going to talk all about kind of why we want people to quit their jobs. And some of you are going to listen to this and be like, I know, I agree. And we're going to do a follow-up episode of how you quit your job. That's not this one. But we're going to kind of dive into why and how to get rid of that head trash that says you can't. So Bri, are you with me now on making people quit their jobs?
Yeah, I'm real fun if you ever meet me in person and I'm meeting you. I've told people before, the first time I've met them, if they're, talking about their work and saying, this is what I do. And I'll ask, well, do you enjoy it? And if they say no, I'll often go, why are you doing it then? People don't always respond the greatest to that, but that's where I'm at now as a person.
Yeah. And I'm just laughing because I've now rubbed off on Bri too much. I was at a conference, sat down in the corner. I was just doing the talk and this guy tried to sell me something. And by the time an hour and a half went by, because that's what an hour and a half later, he was quitting his job, going to start a new business, do different things. It's just kind of, if you hang out with us, it's what's going to happen. Bri, are you really surprised?
No, not really, because I've always been a person who believes you need to do something that is enjoyable to you. I just didn't, I would always be more of a, okay, here you go. Good for you. I don't agree with it, but you do you. And now I'm a little bit more of, why the hell are you even doing it? So.
Yeah. And let's be transparent. If you are in the rent and ramen stage where you are barely making ends meet, then this probably is not the right podcast for you. And I'm just saying that out loud because part of financial freedom is you have the choice of where you work, what you do, where you're going. And people go, well, I'm not there yet. I don't know if I can quit. Often you can change your job quicker, than you think. But if you're barely making ends meet, you're just in the early, no baby steps, you're just getting out of debt, you might be stuck. I'm just calling that out. There are times where you do not have the financial situation to change jobs, but that also could be your first goal. How do I get into a financial position where I can make choices about where I work and what I do?
Yeah, give yourself the freedom and flexibility. That's step one, to even have this conversation and have it in a serious context, not a hoping and dreaming sort of context.
Yep. So let's talk about why I encourage people to quit jobs. And the first thing is, if you are child-free and you're not following the standard life script, you don't have to work the same job for 25 years. The days of working the same job for 25 years, getting the watch and retiring are gone. They just are. If you get hit by a bus tomorrow, your employer will post your job before your body is buried. I'm just calling that out, or they're going to replace you with AI right now. They have no loyalty to you and you have no loyalty to them. And when you're looking at that and you're saying, they're like, hey, I've been doing this forever. I just got to keep doing it. That's kind of the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and hoping there's a different result. You do not have to make a 25-year commitment to your employer.
Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners, it's Bri. I highly encourage you to schedule a Childfree Wealth checkup. During this time, you're going to get a couple of forms to fill out that include your life and financial plan. We'll review them, and then we're going to have a meeting and go through them with you. We're going to give you some advice and things to work on and talk through things to make your finances simpler so your life can be amazing. You can schedule yours by going to our website, childfreewealth.com, and clicking the Schedule Now button. No, and I don't think that you should necessarily, unless it's something that you love, because we've said it before and we'll say it again, is when you're making a decision, you're 18, 19, 20, and going into college and doing those things, sometimes you make dumb decisions. There are people who know what they want to do and that's all they've ever wanted to do with their life. And then there are other people who, I think many more people who actually go, I'm not sure what I want to do. And there are a lot of different things I would like to try and do. And there's nothing wrong with that, of wanting to try different things and do different things throughout your life and not picking one thing and sticking with it.
In full transparency, I'm an employer. We have staff at Childfree Wealth, at Childfree Trust. And the way I look at it is if you are unhappy, if you're not growing, if you're not getting what you need from the job, I will find you another opportunity elsewhere. I'll help you. And I think employers should do that because I don't want somebody to just work for me forever just because. And I worked for a healthcare system and they had a big event. And the event was for when you had 25, 30, 40 years of employment with them. And I'm like, do you really want an employee that's been there 40 years, who's never done any other job and has never grown? And in a big organization, you could move around throughout the place and do growth. But at some point, you need to go experience something else, if nothing else, just to meet new people, to move, to try a different area. And there is such a thing as a job being too cozy. Yeah.
I'm laughing deeply on the inside of meet new people because that's the last thing I'd expect you to say.
Okay, but that is not where my happy spot is. But here's the thing. When I go out and meet new people, I don't want to do it, but I grow every time.
Exactly. And a lot of this is very similar to the way I feel about living in the place where you grew up. I have a strong belief that you need to live at least a plane ride away from wherever you grew up for a period of time. You can always go back, but I think there is growth in that. And it's the same thing for jobs, is you need to try something different and go out and experience different things, because otherwise you're never going to know what that's like. And you can easily be sucked into a bubble that you don't even realize you're in.
Yep. And by the way, we'll come back financial growth and all that, because it's actually better from you from a financial standpoint to jump jobs. I know that sounds weird. We'll come back and explain that in a second. But the personal growth cannot be undercut. So here's the thing. If you follow the standard script, you go to school, you get married, you have kids, you work 25 years, all that. What you're really doing is you are following a decision the teenage version of you made. Because here's what happens to most adults. Most adults, and if they don't leave their town, they get forced seriously into this. But most adults, their path was picked by somebody, might have been a teacher, might have been a family member, somebody very well-meaning, who said, you would be great at this. And then they go to school for that. And then they get their first job at that. And then they go in that job, and then, another opportunity comes in, they kind of open another door and they move up the ladder. Next thing you know, you look back 20 years later, you're like, how the hell did I get here? And what it is the 18-year-old version of you made a decision. And let's be real, the 18-year-old version of all of us was dumb. I'm just calling that out. If you are 18 listening to this, I'm just going to tell you right now, 20 years from now, you're going to think you're dumb. I'm not judging you. I'm saying you're comparing against yourself. If you're still following what the 18-year-old version of you wanted, or 20-year-old, or whatever it is, chances are you've changed. Your life has changed. Your goals have changed. Let's be real. The whole world has changed since then, but you're still doing the same job. Are you happy?
Yeah. Actually, I want to know something. If you had to do the job that other people picked for you, what would you be doing?
I'd be stuck in my own hometown. Probably the ideal job then was actually doing employee for the town, driving trucks or, plow trucks, things like that. That was the ideal. Or maybe you get something with a pension, firefighter, EMS, something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you did EMS work, right? EMT,
I did.
Paramedic.
I was a paramedic. By the way, paramedic's a great job for about 5 years, and then your whole soul is sucked into it, and your mental health doesn't stay. I got some great stories from that, but that doesn't mean I should be doing that.
Yeah.
Besides, my back would probably not do it either. But
yeah, that's a physically demanding job. Very tough. That's interesting, though, because I do think we can easily fall into those jobs. And you're right. The jobs that have the pensions, people are often telling you to go into, or they're saying, do this because of money. Or so there's certain reasons. If I did the job that people wanted me to do, I would be a pharmacist. And the idea of being a pharmacist is soul sucking to me. First of all, I do not like chemistry at all. So I don't want anything to do with that. But I just also don't want to work in a pharmacy every day. And you need to recognize whether or not you picked your path or somebody else picked it for you. Because if somebody's saying you should do this, it's probably not going to be the right path for you at the end of the day. You might go through multiple different paths before you find your one path, but also I hesitate to say that there's even one path for people. I think there can be multiple paths. I don't believe in there's one singular path in life.
I don't know that there is. And I think I'm much more now in a seasons of life approach. In this season for this 3 to 5 years period, I want to do this. What's it going to look like 5 years from now? I have no clue. I'm just going to call that out. And I think that flexibility is inherent in a child-free life. The way I say it is living a life of child-free wealth means you have time, freedom, and flexibility to do what you enjoy. Well, if the job is not something you enjoy, then we need to make a plan to get out. Now, if you truly do enjoy it, the test is, would you do that job for free?
Yeah.
And if you would, then get paid for it and get paid as much as you can. And when I say, would you do that job for free to most people, they go, yeah, no. Every once in a while, somebody go, let me think about it. And they'll get back to me and go, I think so. I would change these 1 or 2 things. If that's your answer, cool, you found it. You're rare. For most people, I'll ask the question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they kind of laugh at me. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with age. I'll ask people in their 60s or in their 20s. I don't care what age. What do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, I would, well, nobody's ever asked me that question. And I'm like, that's the point. You're on a path that somebody else picked for you. And we can have a whole discussion, who's voicing their head saying you got to do it, whatever. And what happens is it's kind of a sunk cost fallacy. I went to school for this. I put all this time and effort into it. I moved up the ladder. I can't change.
Yeah, but you can make a change. And that's really important. That's the conversation that we often have with people is you can definitely make a change and you don't need to stay stuck if you're unhappy. I also think that people have glorified a little bit now, especially on social media, the idea of an ideal dream job. I don't think everybody has a dream job and you can really enjoy a job. There are 2 extremes between being miserable and you need to be out of your job yesterday and then having everything fit. I don't necessarily think that everything fitting is going to be a path that many people find themselves on, but something you enjoy can be possible. And that's okay to go and find that and say, I've been miserable. I don't want to keep doing this. I need some time.
Yeah. And let me go to the extreme for a second. Somebody I spoke with, and her job was physically hurting her. And she had done a bunch of work to kind of adjust and, try different tools and, try different physical therapy. And I'm like, how about you either A, go out on disability or B, change a job? I said, you deserve a job that does not cause you pain. And she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, if your job is causing you physical, mental pain, whatever that pain is to you, you deserve something different. Now, there are jobs that are just painful and, it's part of what you sign up for the job. And if you choose to do that because you enjoy it, there's a difference in going home at the end of the day and you're like, I'm exhausted, my joints hurt, but I had a great day at work versus this job is causing me pain. If it's causing you pain, you need to make a change. Part of that, and this we come to the how, is, some of that literally is on disability. There's ways to do that. There's ways to work with your employer to change it. But like in this case, she had already tried all that. And she's like, I cannot work a full day without pain. And I'm like, then you need a different job. What happens though is we're trained by people, by culture, by company that you just got to suck it up. And I'm like, no. Like, yeah, maybe you're getting a good paycheck, but is it good if you're sacrificing yourself?
And I don't believe it is at all. I know exactly the conversation that you're talking about too. And I don't think that was a good situation at all. One, sacrificing yourself because you have a life to live and it starts now. It's not waiting for tomorrow because tomorrow may never come. And so if you're saying, I'm just going to push off all these things, I'm going to be in pain. I'm not going to do the things I want because I need to stay in this role that other people have decided for me, or maybe I picked and realized, hey, it's not a good role for me. It's okay to walk away from those things, but that can be kind of a bruise to the ego.
It can. really, by the way, we're not saying quit your job immediately, like put a plan together. That's the next episode on how. But we're really asking the question of, you're going to spend a third of your life at your job. That's about what you spend. Are you okay being unhappy, being in pain, other things for that? And what I'll usually hear is, well, I get paid well. And I'm like, yeah. And then they say, well, I take a lot of vacations. I'm like, why do you do that? Well, because I have to get away from my job. And I'm like, okay, hold up for a second. What if we found a job you enjoyed? You got paid half as much, but you were happy and you didn't have to take the trips to escape. And they go, is that possible? like, yes, because there's this trap. When you go up in salary, people are like, I can't go back down. No, you can. This is that file approach. Like, how do I do the right amount of work at the right time, at the right place, at the right level to enjoy it? I'm going to be transparent. So in the phase of life I'm in right now, I am pushing myself hard. Okay. We've got a new product launching, new company launching. We are doing a lot of things. I'm running multiple companies. I'm running 60, 80-hour work weeks, but it's for this season. There is an end in sight. There is a plan. And by the way, it's for something I am 100% passionate about. It is for something that I wake up each morning excited to work on. Am I tired at the end of the day? Absolutely. There are a lot of days where I'm like, oh, I made it through the day. That's my goal. I know it's for a bigger purpose, which is different than just on the struggle bus hating your life.
Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners, it's Bri. If you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, be sure to get on it, where each week we send out information regarding what's going on in the world of child-free life and finances. You can sign up by finding the link in our description. Yeah, they are two very different things. And being able to recognize and identify that there is nothing wrong with working and pushing through when it's something you really care about. There's also nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need to set some boundaries around this, and I can only do so much for a certain time period because I just need to rediscover that passion for it. And that's okay too. There's going to be different points in your life that you need different things. And so going through that season's approach of this season is what this looks like this season. It's something else entirely. Both are okay. Recognizing that, calling it out, and being very self-aware is important.
And I want to give you two examples of this. I had somebody who had a high-paying job, a little political, and in this new political world, let's just be real, those are not always the best jobs. And, making good money, I don't know right now in this political world, I'm not sure I want to be in politics world, let's call it that. This person has a great heart and wants to give back. And we had this discussion and said, hey, you know what? What if you quit your job and you went and worked for that nonprofit or that policy group you want to, or something with a passion where you're getting paid half as much, but you're being more direct in the work that matters to you? And she was like, can I do that? I said, yeah, you can essentially consider that half of your salary that you are not getting from the high paying job a gift or a donation to the group that you want to work with to have the same mission and vision and passion about it. And she was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Because people go, well, if I work hard, I can donate my money. And that's a separate person I had, which was, she was more kind of hit financial independence. And she's like, look, I'm going to keep working my full-time job because it makes a lot of money. It's okay. It's not passionate, but I'm going to donate my entire paycheck. Well, that's awesome too. Like, they're both working for a purpose and making the conscious choice about which job am I going to do, where, when, in order to match my values and my legacy.
And I think that's perfect, making sure it matches. And I love the idea of working and giving everything away, if that's something you feel passionate about. I also love the reframe of saying, I'm going to take a pay cut intentionally and thinking of the lost salary as a donation to that cause and being able to put more time and energy into a particular cause. I think many people do have things that they care about deeply. And sometimes we forget that our time can be valuable to those organizations, not just our money, because we're kind of conditioned to believe, hey, just putting money towards something can fix the problem all the time. When, yeah, sometimes places have money, but what they really need is time and energy from people.
It's interesting. In that case, one of those was a soloist and one of them was in a couple. And it's different between the two. So when I say, hey, you need to quit your job, if you're a couple, we like this approach called the garden and the rose, where you're taking turns between growing and providing support. And we'll come back to that in the how section. But what I like about that is when I ask the couple, hey, the person that's going to be the rose, the person needs a job, when do they need to change a job? Their spouse is usually like, yeah, like 4 years ago. And every time, it's a long time ago. And then I ask, okay, are you okay supporting them through it? Are you okay working through it? Every time the spouse is like, absolutely. They will be happier. Like they're miserable now. But we can't see that for ourselves. And that's why, if you're a soloist, you might need a phone a friend, one of us or somebody to kind of lean into your life, go, hey, are you happy? And just help them through that. Fortunately, your spouse tends to be better at telling you that. We're just a bad judge of it for ourselves because we get so stuck in, well, I mean, the job's better than it was. And I'm like, okay, so it went from a 10 out of 10 misery to a 9 out of 10.
Not great odds.
Like, well, I mean, they just gave me a raise. I'm like, yeah, but it still sucks. Like where you need to have somebody from the outside calling this out.
Yeah. Calling that out can be hard. I've called that out in meetings for clients and just had them break down in tears. And then, especially when it's checkup meetings, people will hear that. They will recognize it. They'll break down in tears usually. And then you don't hear from them for a while. And then they go, hey, I'm back and I never made those changes and I want to make those now.
Yeah. And we do these child free wealth checkups and we'll ask, really, we kind of like to dive into like one life issue and one financial issue. I don't know. Bri, 2/3 of them, 3/4 say I need to change a job. Yeah.
I would say it's probably math. Rough math, probably right.
So that means, 2/3, 3/4 are like, I need to change. And now the question is when and how, and we can help through that. But they know they need to make a change. And we'll have these meetings with them. We'll say, okay, you say here you need to make a change. All right, we're recording this now in June. A lot of times we'll kind of go 6 months out. I say, all right, so how about for the first of next year, you have a new job? And they're like, I'm like, you wrote down that you need to change. You know it. They're like, and a whole bunch of buts come out and we can work through them one at a time. And this is where I'm like, you wrote it down. It was your goal. It's not like me going and going, I'm going to go watch you at your job and decide if you should quit. I'm like, no, you said this. Let's do it. And that's where people are like, I didn't really mean it. And I'm like, no, you did. You just are scared. And it's okay to be scared. You're just comfortable where you've been. Change is rough. We'll help you through that. But I think it's that reality check of, do you need to change your job? And if you do, let's do it. Now, I'm going to go to the flip side. I got some folks that any job they're in, they got to quit. Like, they're like, I hate this job. I hate this job. I hate this job. If you hate every job, the problem is you, not the job. I'm just calling that out. Like, at some point, some of the work BS you just have to deal with. Like, that's it. And in an ideal world, if I can get you a job that like 70 or 80% of it you're really happy with, that's a winner. Like you're always going to have office politics. You're always going to have BS policies. You're always going to have bosses you don't like. You're always going to have whatever the issue is. So I'm not really talking about like you should just quit your job just to quit your job. But here's what the data says. The data says if you want to keep your salary up, you should be jumping jobs every about 2 to 3 years. You're more likely to get a raise when you jump jobs. This like old school, this is the way I was trained, which is like, you don't jump jobs. That's a bad thing. No. Like that's gone. And sometimes that means changing within your employer. Sometimes that means, switching to another job, another role. But if you've been doing the same thing for 10 years and you just got the cost of living adjustment on your pay, you might have given up 30, 40, 50% raises over time if you had moved jobs every 3 years at a minimum.
Yeah. And I think that's important to recognize and understand and advocate for yourself. I do want to make a point, though. We're joking about, hey, if you don't like every job, the job is you, or the problem is you. I've had this before where I've just asked people, do you see a therapist? And I would encourage you to do so because sometimes it's something deeper. And I know that can be hard for people to hear, and not everybody has taken and responded to that positively, but it is something where there might be deeper things going on. So having somebody to talk to, having bigger conversations about that is important, because mental health is a very real thing. So consider if that's an avenue that you need to explore if you're somebody who's really not liked many of your jobs. Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners, it's Bri. If you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, be sure to get on it, where each week we send out information regarding what's going on in the world of child-free life and finances. You can sign up by finding the link in our description.
Yeah, I say everybody needs 3 people in their life. They need a therapist to look back, a spiritual person to look up, and a coach to look forward. Bri and I are on that coaching side. Our job is to do a balance between kicking you in the butt and patting you on the back. You may need other help. And when you're changing jobs, you may need a lot of it. I'm just calling that out because, especially, I've had folks where like their whole identity was in their job and they don't like it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to change your whole identity, who you are, where you came from, all the stories in your head. Okay, that is not something I can do alone or Bri can do alone. Like, you're going to need to do some work. But the end result is happiness. And what happens is people, we have them score your life on kind of like how amazing is it or how happy you are. And they're like, I'm at 8 out of 10. And I'm like, how do you get to a 9 out of 10? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, what did that look like? What would you have to do? And they're like, well, I'd have to move. I'd have to do this. Cool, let's do it. And they're like, hold up, that was not what I meant. Like, and I think with jobs, that's the case. The bottom line is, yes, if you talk to Bri or I, go ahead and get a child-free wealth checkup with any of my team. And guess what? If you put down, I need to change my job, we're going to encourage you to do that, because that is what you need. Investing in you and in your life and finding something you enjoy is much better return on investment than the stock market. If the first thing you need to invest in is you and changing a job and getting some help to do it, we're here to help and we're ready.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.